So I'm just putting my hands here as though I was the one doing the work, so that she's now
used to about that.
yeah. And so why I start on the left, I don't know, but I do. When you work in the spot, you people start your people face up or face down normally.
Always face down. Unless they specifically say,
Request.
hey, I want my section done on my neck or my torso on the side. It's, I mean, spa's more routine,
Yeah.
because most people aren't there for specifics. I mean, they have complaints, but
So you see what I'm doing here, Corey? I'm using the material of her top to guide where my hand goes. So I'm still using lotion, I'm still doing a stroke, and it's still pin and stretch, but I'm using the guidance of her top to where my hand goes. And the goal always is to create space within the body.
and it's awesome that you do like clothes. Because in the spots, like you'll come in and people's boobs are literally here. Like, how am I gonna get to your scaling? How am I gonna get to your pec? No, totally. Well, because it's all unclothed,
Yeah.
mostly.
That's so funny.
99.9%.
So even with sheet drape, like say there was a lot of tissue here and it's spilling into the neck. You could take a sheet and you would hold it tight right up here. So you would tuck it on this side and you'd bring it right across, and you're pulling the sheet so tight that when you
Okay.
tuck it under here, you have this shoulder
Very good,
exposed. And then, you know, there's the occasional hotel guest that's like, hey, don't, wherever the sheet is, you don't go.
yeah.
And that's a good rule, but they're saying don't even move the sheet.
Yeah. Yeah. And most of the time, those people can't lay face down. Because it's like, unless you have like one of those breast, like
Oh, right,
pillows,
right.
because they can't even,
The
they're
body
so
cushion.
big that they can't
Oh.
lay.
Corey, we
on
don't have a lot of people like that, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, and it's a different circumstance here than it is. It's
We just have normal people.
night and day. Night and day.
Yeah, if you're working a lot of people with augmentation. So you see how I come over here and I put my leg on the table? That gives me leverage.
Yeah, for your
Because
arm, okay,
now my
okay.
forearm, I'm pushing my forearm into my leg, but watch her body move. So my hand is not working at all. So I'm literally just
Okay.
using this hand to control, and we're getting some pin and stretch on that shoulder, and I'm constantly reading, okay, those rotator cuff muscles are tight. Okay, this edge where the lat comes in, that's nice. Okay, how's the tricep feel? And this is loosely an entire pin and stretch session. So I'm going to move a body way more in my session, making it easier on my body than you would on another session. And you could start to get in and, you know, okay, what am I on now, Corey?
So yeah.
Good job. And so this isn't like getting crazy, her face isn't changing.
Mine would though.
We're just creating a little bit of space there. And so you see how every grip I do, I want her to feel confident that I'm not like, ooh,
Yeah,
I almost dropped her arm. Oh, jeez. So it's the transfer, and this is all practice. As you get
Little traction there too.
better and your touch becomes more confident, you're not going to be like, you know, almost like you're asking for permission. You're going to be like, okay, I'm controlling this limb here, and we're working together. So I'm trying as much as possible to seamlessly transition from joint to joint. And when things cross joints, so see I'm working this wrist joint to address these flexors. I'm sorry, those are extensors. I'm dyslexic today.
Okay, I knew what you meant.
And then watch this transition, we just go into nice to meet you, and then you get the
Okay.
rotation in the forearm. So you just come
Wrap
down,
into stretch.
boom, yep. And then, the reason this still works as pin and stretch, I'm actually hitting both, is because as I leave this muscle, it's going the other way. So I'm keeping the pressure on both sides, so I'm getting flexors and extensors. But again, we're not like doing major treatment here. This is like just maintenance, sports session. When you hear the word sports massage, just think, get ready to move. Because even the dullest sport in your mind requires movement. Every cell in the body is designed around movement. Even in your teeth. Except for the tooth you gave up yet this past week. So this is all like all the computer people. We want to get in that carpal tunnel. And it's all pin and stretch. Yep.
And you know, and you feel like moving because you're moving the body way more than, like I do in a session and I'm worked. And this isn't where you
It's
Leverage.
so
Like-
much easier. It's unbelievable. So think about the difference between you letting the body be still and working the hand. This is exponentially harder on me than this. Because I'm not going to change the thumb pressure, but you see how that changes when I stretch it?
Sure.
So that's why I have all the leverage in the world to go that way, but I don't have all the leverage in the world to go this way.
Yeah.
And so that's why moving the body makes your job much easier. And then when you're moving another body, you have to be aware of your body mechanics a little more, because you have more risk. So here we go. You're gonna see this happen. What am I doing here? Remember this, Kory?
Yeah.
Taking that shoulder home. Putting it closer to home. Then that side's kind of done. Stuff on the chest. Now we're gonna start this as though I had just set her up, and you can watch and then repeat. And you tell me where I need to break so that it's not like 15 things and you're like, oh, I can't remember all those things. So
Or I might
this-
tell you before that.
Okay, Aaron might tell me.
Okay.
So
We love Aaron.
just to review, we just set her up. This is like the first 3 minutes. And so it took way longer than 3 minutes because we're learning. And so this is what you want to get used to. Okay, she's decompressed. We know how everything moves. You've already started to pick up what's stuck or what's not moving the same because you've done a little bit on both sides. Even when you go to externally rotate their hip, you want to think about, okay, how's that feel when I put that traction on? Is it stiff there? And so
that's an
So
assessment.
you thought, yeah.
yeah, you're starting to get your assessment skills from the get-go. We're not calling this any kind of assessment, but that's really what you're doing. You're teaching your hands to read tissue. And you're teaching your hands to read what you're feeling with each, okay, one leg moves easier than the other. And you just make a note of it. You're not going to start treatment there. Just make a note of it. So now, I'm going to introduce some lotion.
So you said that first section was 3 minutes? in
It's
treatment time?
probably 3 to 5 minutes of setup.
Okay.
And then from there, we're gonna just run through the body, and this will be an hour session.
So we're in minute 6 about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Once okay, here her tissue stretching, and then once the resistance increases here, that's now joint stuff. And if I let off the tissue, now I get to see, okay, here's her joint range.
So is the pressure going down or
Mhm.
down?
To midline. So we're looking to do pin and stretch in the direction of the fibers of each muscle. So pec minor, ribs 3, 4, and 5. And then pec major is one of the few muscles in the body that runs in every direction. That's why it's so cool that you have a shoulder attached to it, because circumduction, now you hit it all. One revolution, release the pressure, blood flows in. Next revolution, again.
Okay.
And the breast is spilling over into the collarbone. Now, yes, it is the breast, but you're gonna get your
Yeah, you
heel of
said
your
it
hand and
before,
just bring it all down, so you're still outside of the material zone. So you wanna stay outside of the triangles. And so you would just grab with your hand, roll the tissue back, and then you make contact under what you've just pushed down.
Okay.
So it doesn't really matter how big they are. It just matters that you can get some landmarks and know, okay, I'm here. This is the ball of the shoulder, this is the collarbone. We know what structures are under there. Feel free to get all the way up here, roll that tissue back, and then once the tissue is back behind your hand, because you're going to end up using tissue to push tissue, and you're using her tissue to push her tissue. So you have contact well out of the modesty zone, and then you just come back, push it down,
Well, in the modesty.
in the modesty zone, and then you just work it that way. So you could, I mean, I could address so much of the pec, because I can even come up here into pec major and then in and stretch there. And so as you're practicing this pin and stretch, don't be afraid to get all the way down in line with the collarbone, all the way down to the sternum as it's accessible. So use the material of their top as your guidelines.
Okay.
This is actually a really good top to train that on. So someone who's wearing, so she has a good top too, but say they're wearing a t-shirt, then you're kind of guessing, but you're still going to use their tissue to push their tissue. And we don't really care about the surface. We care about what's under the surface. So that's why it's okay to take her tissue and push it and then get into the muscle under it. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
So go ahead and try this shoulder again.
Okay.
How you're holding the hand, and then you can get the flexors.
This is like everyone's dream treatment right here.
Oh God.
2 people doing this. The forearm is so tight.
It's ridiculous.
This one will take a little while for,
Yeah.
for the floppy to come, but it's kind of a cool feeling when you're squeezing here
Good.
and you're just flopping. So you want 1 or 2 fingers above the wrist,
Okay.
and then your other 2 fingers doing the flop. So you see how I'm doing
I
that
see.
with your hand, and your thumb stabilizing the top of the wrist.
Yeah. That's it.
And then the flop comes easier, right? It's easier and it's giving traction.
Ah, gotcha. Okay.
Through. So
Is that what?
Romy is very much like this. You know,
And
like this.
myofascial?
And myofascial.
Well, you
for
can
the-
try to flip it around and go the other way. Gotcha.
Myofascial for the
Okay.
forearm, I would do this way. Because think about when you're doing myofascial on the quad.
Yeah.
Your quad contracts here.
Yes.
It pulls.
Yeah.
Your
To and the
forearm
opposite.
pulls. Yeah. So everything behind my pressure in myofascial release is, I guess, extra credit for right now.
Sorry.
Is
fine.
we don't really care about that. The release is happening in front of the pressure,
Gotcha.
where the muscle is being shortened, because a shortened muscle cannot pull.
Gotcha.
And so I personally would do myofascial on the forearms that way.
Okay. That's good.
Do that other thing that you were doing on there. With
This one?
Yeah.
And this can easily turn active if you have the client grip their thumb and turn it down as you run through this group of muscles. That right there is your thumb muscle. As long as your client's not 500 pounds of muscle, you can tell them, hey, let your legs be heavy, I'm gonna do the work, and you just come up with the next bolster. So that they are not doing a leg raise after being decompressed. And then external rotation, so knees apart, heels together, and then you can traction just by moving the bolster back.
Okay.
Okay.
That looks pretty good. How's that feel?
It's perfect pressure.
Awesome.
He's right in the lemon group.
Awesome. She's groovy.
Groovy, not funky.
Yeah, and that's far enough up, yeah. Yeah, I can get up to the right spot now.
But you see how adding movement makes your work, like how much pressure you have to put, so much less? Because
Mhm.
sometimes just turning the neck, your fingers fall into place without having to dig.
And like the weight of my neck is like going into his fingers, so that's so smart.
And what did you do after
Nothing.
Okay.
We just did that one.
that? My brain can process it.
So this is what I call the thinking move. This is getting their neck ready to move. This is you thinking about your game plan, how you're going to address the neck. And this is them actually starting to decompress and chill. Now, had we not done anything on the neck, shoulders, and arms, her neck would not be
Not
that
shallow,
shallow.
yeah.
So this is really, it's not a hard and fast sequence, but it's a really good sequence.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll go into the next
my neck
transition.
inch longer.
And so if you went deep with that, you can now open your hand and you're outside of the neck, and it's just kind of like softening everything up. And then I go away for that stretch. This is catching platysma, the most superficial muscle, a little bit of SCM, and we're just now getting into a little bit of scalene. That's scalene right up
Or the
under
left
there.
hand, yeah.
Yep. And you can tell I'm not pushing hard with my thumb, but you feel that pressure, right, Kelly?
Oh yeah.
And then from here, you see this triangle that's created with SCM and trap?
You might
So-
need to come at a different angle, please.
So we have her collarbone, the clavicle. That's where I was working, right up in there. And we're creating a little bit of space. And then as soon as I come here, there's the SCM, trap. This triangle gives you all of that scalene access. So now this is very traditional pin and stretch. I'm shortening and lengthening and taking the pressure off. Finding a new spot, shorten, lengthen, take the pressure off. And then you can always make a nice, broad finishing stroke there. And then once you apply pressure, then she comes away and you follow it right through.
How did you?
You're following this line. Yep. And then you can release. Put your thumb back up here. This is the next stroke. And her head follows as you come back. Put that boom. Perfect. And if you want to amplify what you're doing, you just pick her head up a little bit more this way. You feel more stretch under your thumb?
Yeah. Good.
Sorry, I'm always like really.
In school, they teach you that the neck is scary,
Yeah.
especially the front of it.
That's my favorite thing to work.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so much good stuff in the front of the neck. Oh, you're gonna break the omohyoid and you're gonna just be a mess.
I'd say break the omohyoid, whatever that is.
That's good.
What are you filming?
I'm just filming so that I know what he's doing. It's not for him to have this video.
Gotcha. These lines. So you see right here,
Mm-hmm.
SCM, you see that?
Mhm.
Hers pops really good. And if you have someone that doesn't pop, you just have them lift their head. Just lift your head 2%.
Like 100,000%.
Yeah, there you go. So now you see SCM and you see trap.
Okay.
You're gonna get scaling all in
Where we
there.
set her in,
Yep.
finish stretch it.
And you're gonna shorten. I would start down there a little bit. 'Cause,
Here?
Still in there. You're gonna
Okay.
work your way up.
Okay.
But if you put pressure right here, right away,
It's gonna
that
freak
can
out.
get nervous.
Okay.
Yeah, because you got carotid and jugular right up in there.
How's that?
It's really good. And this feels smoother back here. Like the action.
Yeah, I'm not as scared.
The action of it.
Yeah, if she pole vaulted for years, you can't rip her head off.
You got it.
Because she's had some serious neck whips in her life.
Yeah.
Do you need lotion on that area? Or you don't use lotion there?
Oh, there's lotion.
Oh,
It's there, yeah. You can do it without, you just wouldn't do as much dragging. It would be more of,
So how would I transition into going up for SCM now?
just bring your head this way.
This way?
Mm-hmm. And then lift it, lift your head. And then you just slide up here, slide with this hand. And then get down there and grab it.
Oh, okay, okay.
I do a super broad myofascial thing on the SCM, and that's what I was going to go into next.
Okay.
But this is very traditional, where they pinch your SCM and go up. I'm not in love with that
Me neither.
sensation, but some people like it.
It can be intense. And I notice that most people fight it when you're on the table.
And that's why I don't love
You
it.
just do the knife edge like that.
SCM, they're going to feel it right in their eyeball,
Okay.
which is kind of fun if you don't like the person.
A great trigger.
So I'll come here. So SCM turns to the opposite direction, right? So now, and then I will actually pin it with my forearm. And I'm going to do this long SCM stroke. And then I get it all the way up to the mastoid and pull there. So again, you see just before my elbow?
The meat.
Yep, I put it there and I'm already pulling it off of the sternum and the clavicle. And then her head, I'm kind of pushing it into my forearm. So there's good support on both sides of her neck and head. And then now I'm transitioning until I get to my index finger, and that's pinning right on that mastoid. How'd that feel? That way. So that one will be long, and then this one starts to shorten, and then you could transition
To the next one.
to the next one.
Do magic.
And when you get used to it, you'll be able to rotate her neck even more for more length. And when I say her, I mean their neck. So whoever you work on, this will be good. There you go, perfect. You slide and you're just setting yourself up so those fingers can follow. Get that a little further back there. And rotate and,
Be the opposite way.
oh yes, you're right. I'm dyslexic there. Yeah, you got it. Nice.
Did I fall off it?
But he thinks, yeah, I mean, he says it's definitely not moving correct, but it's because it's just, he thinks it's because it's impinged to the nerve.
And did he give you an opinion on if you think it's from the neck or the shoulder?
He thinks it's from the neck. He did a whole bunch of like stuff you just did, yeah, with the head tilt and all of that, the same thing you did. And I didn't have any zingers or anything
Nice.
down it, so I guess that means. And it's not super tight, I mean, it's a little bit more tight. In my neck.